Hello everyone, this is John Schultz, the chef owner of the Lake Elmo Inn. Today we're going to talk about knives, some of the cool things that you can do with them, but I want to give you an example of different kinds of knives. You don't need to go out and buy all these knives because you'll go broke trying to. And I go broke trying to fill up my knives as well. But here I have a birthday gift from my lovely wife, Chris, who bought me this bag. It's a roll, and again, this is not for everybody, but as far as a professional goes, it's something that I enjoy having. I think it's important to protect your knives. One of the questions you've asked, how do you sharpen your knife? How do you take care of your knives? My biggest response would be, don't let other people use them. Take care of your knives and they'll take care of you. The more people that use them, they don't care, your edge is going to go dull and then you're going to have it sharpened. So in this particular bag, like I said, it is a very, very nice bag. And now here's a collection of knives that I use. I protect them. And this is a leather bag, like I mentioned. I protect them, and you can see that there's all different shapes and sizes. You got your steel, is just to put that little finishing edge on your knife. Then I'm going to start out with the biggest knife that I have, and this one used to be my favorite. This is a 12-inch chef's knife. Now this here, compared to this 8-inch chef's knife, is quite different. And I have to be honest with you, 10, 15 years ago, I loved this knife and that's all I would use. I was very comfortable wielding around something this big. Now that I'm a little bit more mature and older, I use the smaller one because it's easier for me to move around. I mean, this is very, very quick. And when you're chopping, speed is money in my business. So you got your big French knife, you got your small one, and here's a 10-inch there. Then you have knives like this one and this one, which are serrated. A serrated knife is used for cutting bread. Fresh bread, you just go right through it. When you if you baked a loaf of bread and took it out of the oven and it's still warm, you try to cut it and it just squishes it down. This, you can just go through it and it'll cut you a nice, beautiful edge. And it doesn't have to necessarily be fresh. It could be a loaf that you bought yesterday. This knife is going to give you a better result, a nicer slice of bread than what you've had before. Then you've got down to these knives. These knives are what we call, in the business, a boning knife. Boning knife means that you're taking meat off the bone, you're cutting your steaks, you're taking the silver skin off of a tenderloin, and and you're cleaning fish. There's a flex knife and then there's a stiff knife. This I use for a carcass, like when I'm cutting game, deer, venison, whatever it might be, or basically beef, and I take off or veal. This doesn't flex so much, so I can scrape up next to the bone, and I can use this a little bit more. I can do more with this. This is a little bit finer work, where you don't want to waste the meat. You want to get that silver skin off of that tenderloin without taking any meat with it. This is a better knife. The same goes with fish. When you're going in and filleting out a fish, like a salmon or a halibut, whatever, or a walleye, you just go ahead and you fillet it right down to the bone, so there isn't a lot of waste. Again, you don't want to throw your money into the drain. There's other knives that you have. This is a little zester, and people want to know what that's for. You just take and you just make this little confetti, or this little strings. And that one we use, believe it or not, we use that a lot, mostly for lemon zest or lime zest. And then you also have a scorer. This is a little different. This one you take and these are much bigger ones. But what you're cutting is these channels into this. So if you wanted to make a decorative vegetable tray, you take and you cut this all the way around, and then you slice that, and then you have a little coin that has all those little edges. So that's kind of cool. So just so you know that none of this is going to waste, this is going to go to my lovely pigs up at Barthole Farms. And now the paring knife, the utility knife. I have two of them here. One of them is serrated. And once you get hooked on serrated knives, they're very easy to be addicted to because they do great things. But I still like the paring knife. Unfortunately, this little knife is almost as expensive as that knife. You don't see these around in your stores too much, but if you went to a good knife shop, you would probably, Williams-Sonoma, those kind of Chef's Gallery in Stillwater, you'd be able to probably get something like this. Now, if you're looking in my bag and you're wondering, what are these other tools in your bag? Well, this here is a needle nose pliers, and you're probably wondering what I have that for. So when you're doing salmon or whatever, a fish that has bones in it, you take and you pull out every bone so that the customer doesn't get it. That's what our goal is. So that's what you use that for. And then this one, a lot of you probably have recognized, that is an oyster knife. You pop that in between the shell, and then you pop open the shell and you scrape out your oyster. And there's guys that work magic with these knives. It's amazing how many oysters they can open in a short period of time. And one of the things that's very, very popular today is these Japanese knives. These are phenomenal. It's like a small little cleaver, and you just chop, 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 chop. So that is, there's lots of different kinds and lots of different makes. You need to figure out which one's going to be best for you. So one of the things that I wanted to do that I've always impressed people with is turning a mushroom. A mushroom that has, it's got decorative characters or properties. It would be like on top of a filet mignon, you have this beautiful mushroom sitting there. Well, the mushroom itself, Mother Nature gave us, is a beautiful thing by itself. But there's ways that you can decorate that mushroom to make it even a little more impressive. So what I'm going to show you here is that this mushroom sits on my finger right between the nail and the knuckle, and I try to start in the middle of the mushroom, and then I pull my knife backwards. And then I go around that mushroom and I do this little, this motion, and I go all the way around. This takes some practice, you guys, and I'll tell you the story as soon as I'm finished of why I became, I think, pretty good at this practice, because I actually do it better than the guy that taught me. So now you take that, you quick saute it, and you've got that sitting on top of your steak. You have all these little trimmings here that can go into your stock pot for your sauce. But today I'm only doing one, so that's not going to be feasible. But look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Here's the story. I worked in a place for the Broadmoor in Colorado Springs at the Antlers Plaza Hotel in their gourmet dining room. I needed to have these mushrooms, and I could not do them. After my chef brought out 2 cases of mushrooms. He goes, "You're not leaving until you can turn a mushroom." And by the time I was done, and I bought 1 case it took me to figure it out, the way he was showing me did not work. I did this, I developed this on my own, and I pulled the knife towards me like that, and I did them better than he could that night. And it's natural to me. I don't do this all the time, but it's kind of cool to show people what can be done with the proper knife. Now, it could be done with a big knife as well, but I'll quick show you. It just takes a little bit more. You got to be a little bit more careful. As you can see, I'm just letting my knife go through. Okay, it can be done with any size knife. But the proper knife for the proper job, again, going with your onions, your carrots, having the right knife. I wouldn't probably use that little paring knife to cut these big vegetables. I would be using a larger knife and doing a good job. A safe job. Again, safety is always number one. And another thing that you can do with these knives is you probably have seen tomato roses. So a tomato rose is what you're doing is you're peeling your tomato. And what you don't want is a real thick skin. You just want to go around your tomato and you just want to cut as far as you can. If you cut it here and it breaks, then your tomato rose ain't going to be too good, like I did there. And then you just, sometimes you have to wiggle it back and forth. The tomato rose, you just turn that, and if you had that whole skin, you can understand, you can see where I'm going with that. It turns into a very nice little tomato rose. Not a great example, but I'm doing this on the fly. But that's what you can do, again, with the proper knife. So with that, take care of your knives, clean them after you're done. So I've just used these two. I will wash these and put them back in. Now if you're using carbon steel, like the Bob Kramer knife, you definitely want to keep those clean and oil them so that they don't start to oxidize from acid, like from a tomato or a lemon, whatever it might be. Take care of your knives and they'll take care of you. One other knife I didn't bring up, and this is this one. This is that slicer. And this is what we use to cut prime rib. This is what you cut turkey. This is what you fillet. When you cut your steaks, I'll use a slicer. It's a nice clean cut. It's easy to use. And that's the only thing I use that knife for. So once you start trying to use these knives to cut vegetables and stuff, then your knives are going to go, they're going to dull up quicker, and they're just not going to be as useful to you if you took care of them and used them in the right purpose. I don't bring all these knives out at one time. For me, if I had a paring knife, a French knife, a boning knife, and a slicer, and my steel, I'm good to go for almost any job that I go out on. I can get by with whatever I need to do. These other things are just conveniences and luxuries. And again, this here particular roll is when I go out and do a catered party in someone's home, something like that. I might bring my chef's knives in or my roll of knives in. It's very impressive. And with that, that's our insider tip for today. Thank you very much for watching.